Great to see you all here today. The Dickens Library is the first stop here, and a bit about the Community Virtual Library. Then I'm going to walk through this little archway, you're welcome to follow me this direction, to our first research project, and I'll stand out front of it. And this one is called Dickens Home and Marriage, and it's created by one of our CVL librarians. Feel free to walk inside, and when you go inside, you'll see that it is interactive. You can click on the large poster, and you will get the research on Dickens' home life and his marriage. You'll see that it comes up. This will automatically play through the research project of Gene Booth. I mentioned that the Virtual World of Second Life is our home base main branch library, but we want to share other virtual environments that may be better choices for educators like 3dWebWorldz, because it's easy access, it's private for students. If you click play on this research project, it will tell you that Dickens did not have a very happy home life. These rooms are placed in the same order they were at the Second Life Dickens Library, Shawnee Library's The Dickens Project in Second Life, throughout the month of December. We've been working with them for many years, contributing to the Dickens Project, which is part of Shawnee Library. I see some of you are entering the Victorian Pharmacy, and you'll see that there's another interactive research project that talks about what it is that Tiny Tim actually had. And researchers now believe that he had tuberculosis, as well as rickets, which was very common during the time period in the mid-1800s in London. Finding patterns that are authentic to historical simulation period is important. And that's what we have done here with these patterns, is found patterns for costumes, for furnishings. You'll even see an example of a little ottoman that has a particular pattern, or slippers that are embroidered that are authentic from this time period that we got from the Antique Pattern Library. Sue Moon is a law librarian. She chose to talk about Dickens and the law, and Dickens makes a lot of reference to law in his writings. You know, there were bad conditions in the courtrooms in those days, terrible ventilations systems, they were cramped. I think he sort of exemplifies that in his writing. Dickens wasn't trained as a lawyer, but he did work as a law clerk and a court reporter. And at 15, he was hired as an attorney's clerk. He served subpoenas, he registered wills, copied transcripts. By zooming in on the research project, you'll see food in the Victorian era will begin to play. And you know, Dickens, Oliver Twist asked, "Please, sir, can I have more?" Well, food was scarce, but some Victorian foods might actually have been a bit nutritious. They did have some foods in plenty. I'll read a short paragraph just as an example from A Christmas Carol. Heaped up on the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, great joints of meat, sucking pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense 12th cakes. Yes, he was a foodie, they say, and he loved to write about food, and he gives us a glimpse into food in Victorian times. Victorian era clothes. Some of you are aware of Gentle Heron and Virtual Ability Island in Second Life. Gentle Heron has been a pioneer of disabilities in virtual worlds and how to make virtual worlds more accessible. And she did the next research room called Dickens and Disability. You'll see some beds in here, and her research will pop up when you zoom in on the back wall. And then as you turn the corner here, we see the Victorian London room. So go to the far back, you'll see that an interactive map will pop up into your browser. And this interactive map shares what London was like in that time period. Our next one is Dickens' Cruel Working Conditions. And this one was done by one of our reference librarian volunteers. I love what you've done in here, Evie, to show a little bit of what it was like with all this machinery and, the Industrial Revolution with, fire and Dickens himself had to work hard as a child. When he was 12 years old, he was working long 10, 12-hour days in a blacking factory. So he knew what he was talking about when he talked about these cruel working conditions. There were so many people coming to London. The population increased from 1 million in 1800 to 6 million by 1900. That's a huge increase. Hundreds of Irish people escaped during the Great Potato Famine in 1848. So the city's sewers were simply unable to cope. Coal-fired stoves and lack of sanitary facilities made the air rank. Raw sewage was pumped directly into the river, and thousands died every year from cholera, giving him an understanding of and a sympathy for the conditions of the poor like no other writer. He saw the poverty himself, and he lived through it himself. Dickens' La Medicina en la Época Victoriana. We have some Dickens resources in Spanish. And I'm so thrilled that we have a Spanish-speaking medical librarian who's part of the community virtual library, P. Ilios. And P is at the University of Puerto Rico. And I'll walk inside her research room. You can click on the sign to see more about La Medicina en la Época Victoriana, which is, medicine in the Victorian era. And she's done this in both English and Spanish, which is great, so that our Spanish speakers can come in and learn a bit about it as well. William Budd was a doctor who specialized in epidemiology. He managed to make his studies revolutionize the authorities in such a way that they became concerned about the hygienic conditions there in the city and the water system. And also the widespread use of anesthesia began during this era with James Simpson. P. here has shown in her research the first antiseptics that were being discovered in 1865. Joseph Lister found this based on phenol and carbolic gas. But this would be a great way for students to learn about what was going on with medicine during the Victorian times. And it's great to be able to read this historical literature and also see the scientific facts and have it all embedded in such an engaging way. I'm going to go into the Great Exhibition of 1851. Evie, I love that you've sort of surrounded us in this great big exhibition when you enter the room. It was quite an amazing event in 1851. Just think, you were at the height of the Industrial Revolution. People from all over were coming to London with their inventions. The Crystal Palace. There was an exhibit from Turkey. And there are pictures in here from China, from all over the world. There are some beautiful pictures. This is by Marie Vans. Marie has done some research year after year. And Marie says every time we do the Dickens Project, she digs into it and learns so much about history. She's got Portugal and Spain and all these different places around the world interacting and coming together to share their inventions. You'll notice that there are several ways to move around in 3dWebWorldz. The little push-pull feature in the center of the screen, and then at the bottom there are other ways to move. So it depends on what device you're using, and teachers, of course, could let their students you figure out how to use this interface for the best ways in their own classrooms. Okay, I'm going to walk out, and I'm going to walk outside now and ask everybody to maybe see if we can gather over there by the Christmas tree, because, we always do the Dickens Project centering on a Christmas carol and Dickens, because Dickens has come to be a figure of Christmas.
Yeah, I'm happy to help. We have a lot of options here, so we've tried to narrow down like what buttons you have available as you first come in. But the whole point is to be able to take it from a beginner experience to an advanced experience. So if you have any questions what we're capable of doing here, or if you're confused because we offer too much too soon, just let us know. We do try to narrow down your experience the first time you come in to make it easier.
I really feel like if you don't have any content embedded, it's like, that's the whole point of this space, is to embed learning content. So I'm so happy. Evie is amazing to work with. So if you know teachers that are using Chromebooks and digital devices, and they're frustrated with not being able to really make learning engaging, especially during the pandemic, this is a great option. And she really helps share this with educators.